This is Venture. Blame Canada.
How we're seen in one country could impact how we're seen in other countries.
We are not loved. We are not cherished.
What's really behind Brazil's trade beef? And Venture's own Toy Story 2.
To do things like this, Carrie, you're talking millions of dollars.
Hi, I'm Diane Buckner. There hasn't been a case of mad cow disease in Canada lately, but our trade relations with Brazil have suddenly turned sickly. The accusations have been flying, pitting not just Brazil against Canada, but Canadian companies against each other. David Gray has the story.
Come on. Here's a view of an international trade dispute you probably haven't seen before. Kukla's owner is Ontario canned goods king Peter Gudis,
You also have to allocate the
or Mr. Gudis, as fans of his over 500 products know him.
592, to be precise.
One of his best sellers, however, was pulled off the shelves and is boxed in the back for the last 3 weeks, part of a controversial Health Canada ban against Brazilian beef.
It will take sometime months or even years for somebody to touch these products again.
His real question, is this a health concern, or is he a victim of a high-level trade war?
Whisky e pato congelado importados do Canadá.
In Brazil, opinion is clear. In a country where cattle nearly outnumber people, the beef ban was a slap to national pride. Samba drums beat out a musical ride against, well, us. The cow's name in Portuguese, Bombardiera, and that, it seems, is the real beef. The ban came on the heels of a bitter 5-year dogfight between airplane manufacturers Bombardier of Canada and Embraer of Brazil. Both companies and countries accuse the other of unfair trade subsidies. Canada won the case at the World Trade Organization, but Brazil has yet to comply. And now, with tempers running hot, even some trade experts are convinced the two issues are linked.
There's nothing coincidental about the second trade dispute, this issue about beef, the BSE scare. That's really all about politics. And this issue fundamentally is raising the ante.
It's an allegation that outrages Bombardier, speaking here for the first time.
Well, I mean, this is, I would say, egregious to the point of ridicule.
If there's a health risk, he says, what else could the government do?
What was your reaction when you read the news in the paper about the ban?
Well, I guess it's a, oh my God. Obviously, it was clear to us that it would inflame passion. Certainly, that's not the timing. The timing we would have selected. I mean, obviously, any connection between these two is absurd.
There is another issue here, our reputation. After all, aren't we supposed to be the good guys? Has the Canadian government won a trade battle for Bombardier at the price of a trade war for everyone else?
You know, it's a sad story, because the fact of the matter is that Canadians were exceptionally well respected in Latin American markets.
Barry Appleton heads up a law firm that makes its money battling trade disputes. He now expects other Canadian companies will end up paying for Bombardier's success.
But I'm not certain that what's necessarily good for them is good for the country. What we're doing is a trade policy that's good for Bombardier right now.
That's certainly the sentiment at Brascan, short for Brazil Canada, one of our country's richest companies with century-old roots in Brazil.
There's no health hazard attached to Brazilian beef at all. It's among the finest beef produced anywhere in the world. So we think the Canadian government's action is reckless and unjustified.
Strong words. Back at corporate head office in Toronto, cooler heads prevail.
Well, the timing certainly, I think, is unfortunate.
Here, they're a lot more, well, diplomatic.
There are others who go further. I'm sure there are.
But they're no less concerned. Brascan is a conglomerate made up of Noranda Mines, Brookfield Properties, and Great Lakes Power, among others. The company has $400 million of investment in Brazil, and South America is at the core of their future growth plans, including a $3 billion mine under construction in Peru. A Bombardier trade spat is bad for business.
I think we should care about how we're seen internationally because we are a trading nation, and how we're seen in one country could impact how we're seen in other countries.
Canada did over $2 billion in trade with Brazil last year, our largest trading partner in Latin America. Everything from cellular technology to fertilizer to oil and gas equipment.
Então tá. How's the mad cow today?
Annette Hester is a Brazilian working in Calgary whose business opens doors for Canadian companies in Latin America.
My advice to my clients right now is bury your head in the sand. Don't become visible under any circumstances.
Not exactly what Canadians abroad are used to.
If the government is telling you people in the Americas love us and they respect us, we are the keepers of the peace, forget it. That's not what's going on. We are not loved. We are not cherished.
Back at Bombardier,
we still have great hopes for the Latin America part of
Ivan Allaire doesn't believe it.
I think Canada's reputation is stellar. We went through the process of the WTO, all the steps, the appeals, every step of the way, abiding strictly by the rules of the game.
So, what's next? In 2 months, delegates from 32 countries will arrive in Quebec City for the Summit of the Americas. The hot topic on the agenda, expanding free trade throughout the New World. On the plains of Abraham, they've already rolled out the barbed wire in fear of protesters. But some veteran dealmakers say organizers are worried it will be countries that will most need separating.
I would think they're very nervous.
Sylvia Ostry is a former Deputy Minister of International Trade.
Why you would want to create problems with Brazil when the planning is fully underway for this enormously important trade meeting.
We've gone outside the box to retaliate against Brazil. And that's a real problem because all those countries are watching, and what they're saying is, why should we join? What's the point of getting into this agreement if you're not going to follow it in any event?
Hey.
Mr. Gudis and Kukla are watching too.
Please, what is the line against here?
His net worth is a blip on the balance sheet compared to the big players.
This is the last containers we'll be able to have for the year.
But his business lives or dies on the strength of Canada's reputation. And right now, his Latin American suppliers aren't impressed.
And we're not talking just Brazilian ones. Argentinian, Peru, other countries from South America, even in Central America.
A reminder, even trade wars, it seems, have their casualties. For Venture, I'm David Gray.